Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to Playground Sessions YouTube channel. I'm Phil, and today I'm going to be fulfilling a request. You guys voted in our Facebook community. You wanted me to teach you how to play Fields of Gold by Sting, and so here we are. I'm going to teach you how to play the verse from our intermediate level arrangement. That sounds like this. 1, 2, set, go. Okay, so let's get into it. I'm going to start by breaking down the right hand melody first. Then we'll switch gears and look at the left hand harmony, the chords that we see. And then for a final step in this video, we're going to put the hands together. I'll give you some tips for how to do it well. And we'll start slow and we'll take our time and we'll speed up. All right? You guys ready to learn this? Let's do it. Looking up at the music, we can first identify our key signature. Those are the two sharp symbols we see just to the right of the treble clef. And that tells us we're in the key of D major. All Fs and all Cs are automatically sharp. Key of D major. Our time signature is 4/4, 4 beats per measure, and a quarter note gets 1 beat. This is pretty common, so this is actually called common time. 4/4 is also known as common time. So a quarter note gets 1 beat, but we also actually see quite a bit of eighth notes in the music if we look ahead and we skim this section. So because of this presence of eighth notes, we're going to count this piece of music like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. We're counting 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are our 4 beats, or the 4 quarter notes that we might see in a measure. But the ands in between, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, allow us to represent these eighth notes as well, or the notes that might fall in between the numbers. 1 and 2. Okay? Something in between beats 1 and 2, for example. So when we see eighth notes, and specifically when we see tied notes and dotted notes like we see in the 4th measure of this section, we know that there's going to be some syncopations. And if we subdivide our music by counting out loud 1, 2, 3, 4, and putting the ands in between, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, we'll be able to learn this section more accurately and play it with more even timing. We'll get some extra practice with the rhythms once we cue up our backing track and we work on this in time. But first, let's go ahead and actually learn our notes and our hand positions, and we'll get into the timing a little bit later. Our first note for this section is a B. It's the octave above middle C. We'll start on that B with our 3rd finger. This kind of puts us in a G position. But don't forget C's are sharp. This is kind of our position to start, but it is going to change a bit. But we'll get there when we get there. Okay, first is B with our 3rd finger. Then A with 2. Another one. Now quickly, a couple of eighth notes here. 5 on D, 4 on C sharp, next measure 3 on B, 2 on A, and then back up to B. Here, at the end of this measure, is when we break from our G position. Our thumb's going to reach down to play a D, and our whole hand actually is going to shift. So now our pinky is on B. 4 on A, thumb back to D, 2 on F sharp. Don't forget our key signature. We'll tie that F sharp over the bar line, and then on the and of 1, reach up to that A with our 4th finger. And that's the end of our first phrase, okay? So the rest of the notes in this measure are kind of like pickup notes to the next phrase. And we're going to reach back up to our first position. Pinky reaches up to D. That puts us back in this G position. So D, C sharp, next line down, B, A, A. D, C sharp, B, A, A. Now reaching down also with our 2 finger to E. 2 on E, 3 on F sharp, 4 on G. A couple more F sharps. Walking down, E, D. So that's just sort of a quick run through of the notes and the fingerings in this section. If you need any extra practice with me for that phase, just rewind and play back as many times as you need. But now, if you're ready to get into more of these rhythms, I say we cue up our backing track at the slow speed. This will allow us to count and subdivide more evenly throughout the whole section, and doing it slowly just makes it a little easier. So let's start there, and when we get 100% in our apps, if you're following along in your app at home, then we'll move on to doing it at full speed. All right, so here we go. Right hand, slow tempo. 1, 2, set, go. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2. Look ahead. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, cool. So, as you probably noticed, it was very syncopated when we played through that. Now, what I mean by that is there was a lot of notes that started on ands, right? Not on the numbers, 1, 2, 3, or 4. They started in between the numbers, or in the cracks, as I like to say. So all that means to me is you've just got to take extra time to get this together and work on those even counts and those even rhythms, okay? But when you're ready, let's now speed this thing up. 1, 2, set, go. Okay, we did it, you guys. We got that right hand part knocked out. Way to go so far. So now let's switch gears to the left hand. But before we do, I just want to quickly let you guys know that we're doing a special free trial offering just to you YouTube subscribers. And I really want you guys to take advantage of this free trial. You've heard me mention the Playground Interactive app a number of times, I'm sure. Well, this is your chance to try it for free with no strings attached for 30 days. So the first step, of course, is to subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button below if you haven't already. But then you're going to want to tap this card that just popped up that says free trial, and it's going to take you to a place where you can learn a lot more, and you can actually sign up for your free trial today. So the app has full songs in all sections. It's got songs in different difficulty levels, not just one. And there's stuff from all genres. There's stuff outside of song lessons too. There's a ton. I hope you'll check out this free trial so you can check out this interactive app. But in the meantime, let's keep going on this song, shall we? Let's get into these left-hand chords. Compared to the right hand, the left hand here is not too bad for this section. And that's mostly because rhythmically, it's pretty easy. We see mostly whole notes, which means we play a block chord at the beginning of the measure, and we just hold it out until the next measure. Now, in the final 2 measures of this section, the rhythms change to half notes, but even that is still pretty straightforward compared to the syncopated eighth notes and dotted rhythms that we saw in the right hand. So let's go over these chord shapes. The first one is B minor over D. Now that essentially is just a B minor triad, but we've got it in first inversion, so the D is on the bottom, and the root is on the top. Now our next chord is G over D. It's a G major chord, also in an inversion, right there. This is actually second inversion. And the combination of these 2 chords, first inversion B minor and second inversion G major, when we put them back to back, we see that we only have to move 1 note between the chords. It's that middle note. F sharp goes up to G. Next measure, we're going to just play another one of these G over Ds. And typically when you see a chord that does not have a chord symbol underneath it, like we see in measure 3, it usually means that it's the same chord as the one we saw before that does have a chord symbol, okay? So here's another G over D. Now, our 4th measure of this section, we see a D major chord in root position. Looks like this. Notice our pinky has been playing the same D through all 4 of these measures. Here's our first chord. Here's our second chord. Third chord's the same. Now we go to D root position. Look at that. We're very close to home in here, and often you'll see that when you have inversions in a chord progression. Typically, the point of using inversions in a chord progression is to minimize the motion that your hand has to move between chords. Okay, so here we see a great example of that. Now, getting into the second half of this section, we're going to see a lot of repeat material, but the rhythms are going to move a little quicker. So let's check it out. We start with another whole note, B minor over D, but then we move to half notes. So we go to G over D, and then 2 counts later, we go to D root position. 2 counts later, next measure, we go right back to that G over D, and then we have a new chord, A over C sharp. We are going to have to move a little bit, but still, because of these inversions, we're not going to have to move far. Here's where we're going. A over C sharp. There's a couple things we need to do to play this chord comfortably. We're coming from G over D, so we're going to have to slide down the keys, but we're also going to have to slide back towards the back of the keys. And that's because our pinky is going to be playing a black key. Now, when we do that, there's 2 ways we can do it. We can just reach our pinky up and keep our hand the same, but that's causing a lot of unnecessary tension. So instead of just moving your finger, let's move the whole hand to accommodate, okay? Let's try that. Here's G over D. We're going to move down and back so we can play that A over C sharp comfortably without having to turn our wrists or move our fingers in any sort of weird direction, okay? A over C sharp. And that's our final chord for this section. I say we go ahead and cue up our backing track at the full speed. But if we try it and it's too fast for you, I encourage you to hit that slow tempo button if you're practicing along in your apps at home. Let's not be in a rush, okay? But having said that, let's go ahead and try it at full speed. 1, 2, here we go. All right, yes. So there's the left hand, and now we have each of our hands down individually. We've got the bulk of our work done, but now we've got to put them together, and that can be another hurdle for a lot of us. Just because we have the hands down individually does not mean necessarily that they're going to just come together perfectly. We still have some work to do. So even though we've done some stuff at full tempo already, like the hands individually, we need to now backtrack a bit on our tempo. We're working on one thing now, which is hand coordination. So let's take away something else so we can focus our energy on that new thing. If we're focusing on hand coordination, let's take away the challenge of speed. Okay? We're not going to try to put hands together at full tempo just yet. And in fact, I would also encourage you not even to try to do hands together at slow tempo just yet, because that still has the pressure of even timing. Right? Even though it's slower, we've got to get to that next note on time. So before we even get to that stage, I would encourage you to walk through every beat of every measure of this section with our hands at the piano, both of them, and I would just work on when do the notes play together? When do they play separately? Not worrying about even timing just yet, okay? If you can get through the section doing that, then your next step is to go to slow tempo. And then once you've got that down, of course, your next and final step is to go to full tempo. And beyond that, I'll remind you guys that we're doing a free trial. You can actually finish this song in the app. So tap this card above that says, "What are you waiting for?" if you'd like to do that, and a ton more in the app, okay? So that's a bit of what we're gonna do here to wrap this video up. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's start with our hands together. We're gonna walk through each beat, and then we're gonna add tempo. You guys ready? So I'll just do the first couple measures here with you, walking through out of time, okay? We're gonna get our hands up in position, taking our time, making sure we're in the right spot. Left hand's gonna start with this B minor over D. Right hand is gonna start up here on this B. And we can see, because the notes are stacked in a vertical line on top of one another on beat 1 of the first measure, that those are gonna play at the same time. Perfect. Notice I'm not in a hurry to get to that next note in the right hand, because we're not worrying about doing this in time yet, okay? So now I can see that because my left hand is playing a whole note, we're just going to hold this out for the whole measure. That kind of makes it easy. Now I can focus on the right hand. Okay, pause. Let's get ready for the next measure. Again, the hands play at the same time. And again, the rest of the measure is now designated for the right hand. Hand position change in the right hand. Left hand, same chord in the next measure. Now this is interesting here going into measure 4. We play a D in the right hand, we play an F sharp in the right hand, and we're going to tie that F sharp over into the next measure while the left hand plays a new chord. Then the right hand plays on the and of 1. So here we're really getting into some syncopations, right? Going from the third to the fourth measure, we actually see a lot of sort of taking turns and toggling between the hands. Once again, I encourage you to do that through the whole section, especially as we get into the final 2 measures where the left hand rhythms change to half notes, okay? But for now, I'm going to keep this video moving. We're going to cue up our slow tempo track, and let's try playing along to that. 1, 2, set, go. All right, there's 100% at our slow speed. We got all our notes green with the hands together. You've been putting in that work. But if you're not at 100 just yet at the slow speed, do not be in a hurry. I can't stress that enough, you guys. Take your time, all right? But when you are ready, let's wrap this video up together. This is our intermediate level verse from Sting's Fields of Gold. Let's go ahead and do it at full speed. Here we go. 1, 2, set, go. Yes, all right. That was a fun one. Thank you once again, everyone, for voting on this one. And Sting, if you're watching and you learned something from this lesson, I hope you'll let me know below. Hope you'll give me that thumbs up. Maybe you drop me a line if you ever want to jam sometime or just whatever. Everybody else watching, if you enjoyed the lesson, let me know below what you loved. If you didn't enjoy it, if there was something you'd rather see different, let me know that below too. I'm always looking at these comments, and I always appreciate some constructive criticism. I'm here for you guys after all, so let me know what you love and what you don't. Until the next time, I'm Phil. I'll see you guys soon for that next video lesson. Thanks for watching.
The features you saw on screen today can be at your fingertips with the Playground Sessions app. Co-created by music legend Quincy Jones, Playground teaches the piano with interactive feedback and gaming features, all while using your favorite songs. All right, guys, I'm Phil. Hit subscribe so I can see you for the next video.